This video is sponsored by Sega. Yakuza 3 might be one of the most interesting entries in the series. So how is the perception going to change with the newly released Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties? Thankfully, Sega was kind enough to give me early access to the game, so hopefully I can give you guys some more insights about the newest installment in the franchise. As someone who has not gotten around to play the original version of the game yet, we will take a look at how Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties looks and feels from the perspective of someone who's coming in with a fresh view, having only played Yakuza 0, Kiwami 1 and 2 of the original Kiryu saga. Obviously, Yakuza 3 takes place after the happenings in Yakuza 2. As someone who hasn't played any of the middle entries, Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties is totally new to me. And honestly, it is kinda wild to see this part of Kiryu's journey compared to the previous games. The shift in setting also becomes noticeable pretty much immediately. Kamurocho is an area that I can probably navigate around blindly at this point, but Okinawa, that's a completely different thing. The beaches and sunny streets are a 180 compared to Kamurocho, and almost kind of remind me of the Hawaii setting from Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth at first glance, though it feels more calm and quiet. And this not only rings true for the area, but also for Kiryu himself. He's not the same guy he was in Yakuza 1 and 2. He's more reflective and more human, trying to do good in this chaotic environment that he was thrown into. After retiring from the Yakuza, he now runs the Morning Glory orphanage in Okinawa, trying to protect the children there, and while he is still pulled back in the criminal world, he's approaching things from a more defensive standpoint, trying to protect the children and land from both Yakuza and shady businessmen. But I don't want to spoil too much of the story just yet, so I would suggest we dive right into the actual gameplay mechanics of the game. Compared to the original Yakuza 3, whose combat leaned towards a slower, more deliberate pace, Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties introduces a faster, much more fluid system that builds on that foundation. In battle, Kiryu has two different fight stances, switching between the classic Dragon of Tsushima style and the Ryukyu style. The Dragon of Tsushima style is the more hard-hitting, brawling style, while the Ryukyu style relies more on using weapons and traditional Okinawan martial arts to put out the pain on the enemies. The Dragon of Tsushima style is not only about punching your way to victory though, as you can, similar to the other games, use the environment around you to your advantage. Just pick up some of the random things that just so happen to be within arm's reach, like a chair, a gun, or even an entire bike. Once you have fully filled up the gauge in the top left, you can also activate the new Dragon Boost ability. During this boost, you will not only deal increased damage, but you can also activate a huge attack called Dragon Finisher. Ideally, you want to use this shortly before the boost runs out to get the most damage onto your enemies, as it automatically ends as soon as you use the finisher. The boost mode works in both styles, and actually enhances them as well, though as someone more comfortable on the turn-based side of things, I am probably not talented enough at beat 'em ups to give out good advice in that regard for all of you out there. But of course, it wouldn't be an RPG if you couldn't make your protagonist stronger. In the upgrade abilities menu, you can spend yen to unlock new special abilities, or raise your max HP and the rate at which your heat gauge increases. As most of you may know, the game is made with the Dragon engine, like all the other games since Yakuza 6. The Dragon engine had a rough start early on, but you can definitely tell that it's been worked on and improved as time passed, and this game is no different. Overall combat feels really smooth. Switching between styles can easily be done mid-battle as often as you want to. In general, transition into battle is almost seamless and very adaptive, as you can already dive into your enemies with a charged attack before the battle screen has even fully disappeared. Everything runs well, everything makes sense, and combat overall is a ton of fun. Generally, it is easy enough to pick up for newcomers, but also advanced enough for veterans of the series to bite their teeth into and get the most out of it. One nice thing that ties into combat is the option to customize your phone. At first, I thought this was only a cosmetical thing to just give it a little bit of a personal note, but after looking closer, I realized that those accessories actually have an effect on combat as well, as they can make you take less damage, deal more damage yourself, or increase the rate at which your heat gauge rises. Even the lock screen has an effect on either combat or the overworld. I don't think this was a thing in the original game, and it's probably one of the most creative ways I've seen when it comes to classic accessories that aid you in battle, since you usually just have a rather plain equipment selection screen. The battle difficulty on the standard setting is also balanced pretty well in my opinion for someone like me whose specialty is definitely more on the turn-based side of things. Veterans of the genre might find it a little easy, but luckily there is the professional difficulty, and if that is still not hard enough, you can always choose legendary difficulty, which usually unlocks a new game plus. All of that should prove to be enough of a challenge for most of you out there. For people who struggle on standard difficulty, or for those who mostly want to play through the game for the plot, there is always the option to switch to beginner, which makes the entire combat portion of the game easier. If you happen to get low on health in battle, you can always heal up with items from the inventory, or just go to a nice restaurant after you're done pummeling people around for a nice meal to not only get your health back up again, but also raise your heat gauge, and maybe even get a little tipsy while we're already here. Now that we talked about the combat, let's focus on the other parts that are no less important in Yakuza games, starting with sub-stories. Personally, those are some of my favorite parts of the series, as they are nice little side quests outside of the main story that oftentimes not only give pretty decent rewards, but they have a huge variety when it comes to what you need to do in order to complete them. Sometimes you just need to get a father and his daughter on the same page and beat up a bunch of punks while doing so, and other times you have to carefully maneuver ice cream cones through hordes of wrestlers that for some reason block the entire road, eventually resulting in Kiryu getting a marriage proposal because of it. The sheer emotional variety from deep and thoughtful to absolutely insane sub-story always makes this one of my favorite parts in the series, and this game is certainly no different. The much beloved Street Surfer also makes its return to the game as, similar to Infinite Wealth, you can ride it through the streets of Okinawa to get to certain places faster. Personally, I never really used it much in Infinite Wealth, as you can just call a taxi to get wherever you want, but you gotta admit that there is something funny seeing Kiryu ride through the streets on his vehicle. Okinawa is not that big of an area compared to other ones, so you could easily explore everything by foot, but why miss out on some of the extra convenience? It's a funny gimmick and a nice quality of life upgrade, so I'm not going to complain. Speaking of nice gimmicks, the dressing rooms are another one of those. Not a fan of Kiryu's look? No problem. Just head into the nearest dressing room where you can customize the Dragon of Dojima to fit your needs. Whether it's facial features like hair, beard, makeup or glasses, or just the overall outfit. Prefer suits? Go ahead. Want him to look like he's on a vacation trip? Not a problem either. It's a nice little thing that doesn't do much in the overall context of a story, but such small customizations can often go a long way in freshening up the game a little. And of course, just like the other games in the series, Yakuza Kiwami 3 also has a ton of minigames to distract you from actually continuing the main story. Whether it's taking cute pictures in a photo booth, playing indoor golf, or classic games like Mahjong, which I still have no idea how they even work. This is my 6th game in the series, and to this day I am absolutely flabbergasted when it comes to Mahjong or Shogi. Maybe this would be a good opportunity to learn it now, considering there are oftentimes a requirement for the Platinum trophy of the game. Nah. We still have classic pub games like darts or billiards, which I am much better at, so we'll just probably stick to those and pretend like I know what I'm doing. And then of course there is karaoke, and you know what this means. It is now time for Bakamitai.
I've been a fool, and you've been childish.
This sounds wrong. Not because of the English dub, because I think they have done an incredible job with it, but let's be real here. Bakamitai does not hit the same feeling on English compared to Japanese. Luckily, we can just easily switch our audio language and... There you go, much better. This hits the spot just perfectly. But going back to audio language, this is actually something I want to talk about as well. I love the fact that you can always switch between audio languages at any given time. I know there are a lot of you out there that prefer the Japanese dub, but I do like to think that the English dub is in no way any inferior. I usually go with the English dub, Not only because I can actually understand it, but because it is of rather high quality and really good and easy to listen to. What is a completely new thing in Yakuza Kiwami 3 though, is the separate included Dark Ties game. Dark Ties revolves around the antagonist of Yakuza 3, Yoshitaka Mine, and how his story began. From his first contact with the criminal underworld, to how he grew into the Mine that eventually opposes Kiryu later on. And one thing that is noticeable pretty much immediately is that his fighting style is quite different compared to Kiryu. Due to his shootboxing background, his movements and hits are very fast and can be comboed really well, reminding me of the rush style from Kiryu in other games. But that's not all. Thanks to his mixed martial arts background, you can also go ground-based, as you can use various takedowns to get your enemies onto the ground and continue pummeling them there. While attacking enemies, you also feel Mine's shackled heart scourge, which is similar to the dragon boost from Kiryu earlier. Once you have at least one heart filled, you can activate it to boost your damage and throw out even stronger attacks than before. If you have 2 or 3 hearts filled, you can also decide whether you want to trigger the regular Dark Awakening, or if you want to sacrifice 2 hearts to double it and hit even harder than you would already have. One thing I haven't really talked about at all so far is the game's OST. Mina's battle theme, for example, is a huge banger, and the OST itself is really strong, which is no surprise since pretty much all the games in the series so far delivered when it comes to the musical aspect. And just like in Okinawa, we can obviously also play minigames in Kamurocho. We got the classic Sega arcades, where you can try to win prizes at the UFO catcher, or play classic Sega games. And of course, there is also some more Mahjong here. I still have no idea how to play this game. Another thing I wanted to test out as well was getting wasted at the bar. Some of you might remember that I have done a permadrunk challenge of Infinite Wealth last year, so obviously I wanted to see how booze was going to affect our character in Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties, and to be honest, it was not as bad as I expected it to be. We get flat out wasted at the bar and then take a little walk. I'm holding the analog stick straight up, and as you can see, Mina barely strays off the path. There is also no noticeable difference in battle, at least none that would put us at a severe disadvantage from what I can tell. It's funny how in such situations my challenge run radar immediately starts going off. Permadrunk Yakuza Kiwami 3 challenge coming in the future? Let me know what you guys think about this. One last thing I would like to mention is the performance side of things with the game. All footage you see here was played on my PC, and with my RTX 3070, the game runs silky smooth on 1080p, even with unlimited FPS and high quality settings. So far, I haven't really noticed any lag or FPS drops, so it's safe to say that they optimized this game really well for PC. Something that is not a given for games that release on multiple platforms at the same time. And yeah, I think this is all we can talk about for now without spoiling too much. Overall, I gotta say I really like this game so far. Everything feels pretty fluid, from the overworld movement, to combat and minigames, to just overall aesthetics of the different areas. It really looks like they wanted to get the most out of the game and the Dragon engine, and in my opinion, they did a really good job with it. If you want to check out the game as well, feel free to click the link down in the video description and get started right away. I'm looking forward to your opinion about the game once you get the chance to play it as well. I also want to give a huge thanks again to Sega for giving me the opportunity to test the game out before the official release and provide you with a video about it from my point of view. The Yakuza series is always worth a playthrough, and the release of Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties comes at the perfect time for me, since I was planning to play through the games I haven't gotten to until now anyways. With that being said, I will now go back to work on my next challenge run, because seemingly I like to torture myself in order to entertain you guys. So I hope you're looking forward to that, and hopefully another opportunity like this one arises in the future. Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties is now available on both PS4 and PS5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as the Nintendo Switch 2 and on Steam. That's all for me today. Until next time, take care.